Hey everybody, I'm Jordan. This is Michael Gardiner. If you don't know Michael already, he is one of the cold email kings. He's definitely a competitor for top cold email outreachers out there. He is an all-around great guy. Every time I'm done having a conversation with this guy, it feels like I just kind of got slapped in the face with just clarity and new ideas. And I really have nothing but positive things to say in regards to Michael. So I really appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for the kind intro, Jordan. Looking forward to chatting today.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I want to start from the beginning. I'd love to know, how you got started and when you started to consider yourself an entrepreneur. What age did that actually kick in?
Yeah, so for some context, I'm 22 now. This is being recorded at the very end of December 22. And I first got started in business around 2015. And that was more of an accident than anything. My actual introduction to business is much different than what I did now. At the time, I was growing Instagram theme pages. So, like, you have like a travel account, or you have like a fancy watch account, or fast cars, that kind of thing.
Right.
I was initially growing them just for fun, more just to have like followers and kind of show off to friends. But got approached by businesses wanting to buy ad space on accounts. At the time they were called shout outs. And what happened at that was the people who were buying shout outs from me were business coaches or drop shippers or affiliate marketers or people with email lists. And that ended up bringing a lot of exposure to different business models. And I ended up getting interested in starting researching their businesses, and that kind of opened the gateways to all the different rabbit holes to go down.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So 2015, how old were you then?
At 15.
15. Wow. Okay. So you've been in the game more or less for about 7 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay. And so you said you kind of were you making like decent money with your Instagram pages?
Yeah, when I first started, it was just a few $100s a month. But at some points I was making not a ton, but 1,000, 2,000, sometimes $3,000 a month, which in high school was pretty good considering.
Yeah.
That was probably the most passive gig I ever had. It did not take much time. Um, I spent a lot. I work a lot more now than I did then. That
Yeah,
was a
right.
pretty passive gig. I was also able to actually build up some of those pages and sell them. So I started buying and selling pages, which allowed me to make more money faster because I figured out the valuations on pages really well. I would lowball, eventually buy a page, turn around and flip it. So that became part of the gig too.
Nice. Okay. And so from there, you kind of transitioned into the agency space, right?
Yeah, so that gave me exposure to a lot of different business types. And
Right.
the problem is I tried to start all of them at once. I tried to start a private label brand, I tried to start drop shipping, tried to start an agency. And I had a little bit of traction with a private label brand. But the main thing I got traction on was an agency. And back then, this is when the only real agency guru out there was Ty Lopez, and it was all social media management services people were selling. So I did that for a while, kind of a generalized agency. We'll do a little website here, a little bit of social media management there. And that was good enough to bring in income, but I would still not call it, it wasn't a business in terms of what I have now, where there's management structures and there's different layers of people and very clear processes. It was, I do freelance work and I have a couple contractors to help me out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So did you go to college by chance?
Yeah, so I was accepted into a program in Florida we have, which is called dual enrollment. So what that means is like when they decide that high school's a waste of your time, you can skip to the later 2 years of high school and just go directly into college. So what I did was I did summer school, and I did like during the school year college classes. So I was able
Okay.
to get my associate's degree before I graduated high school for free. So it just made a lot more sense for me to do that because college I found actually easier because there wasn't any homework
Right.
compared to like high school. So I was able to get my associate's degree for free before I graduated. After that, I got a full scholarship. Well, I got a large scholarship and other independent scholarships, which covered the cost of university. And I went to Palm Beach Atlantic University for a year. My intention with that was I wanted to study abroad, and studying abroad was expensive. So I had 4 years of funding, you could say, and I used a year of it to study there. Which when I was there, I chose that school because it's near Palm Beach. It's a very wealthy area. I was able to meet a lot of important, cool people. And then I used the rest of that money to study abroad in London, because also, free rent in London, free food in London, it adds up. And when I had finished that, I had one course left and I dropped out.
Nice. Yeah, I studied abroad in Spain, and now I have a place in Spain, and you can't beat that free rent. Tell you what.
Yeah.
But okay, so when you dropped out of college, because this kind of happened to me, so I'd love to know just kind of how this worked with you. But did you have some sort of a success motivator? Like, I don't know where you were at with your businesses at that time, but when I graduated college, for instance, I got my corporate job, hated it, was working Monday through Saturday, 60 hours a week. I could go surfing on Sunday, and that was like my only me time, and it just felt like I was working for somebody else. And so I quit. I went full time into the agency. I would have rather been 6 feet under than working 9 to 5. I had pressure from my parents saying, "What are you doing? Like, go back to business school, do this." And so I kind of had this success motivator of fear and a little bit of anger at the same time. And that was kind of like my fuel to really push and build it to where it is now. But with you dropping out of college, of university, did you have some like sort of success motivator that you kind of used as fuel to push you?
Not so much, to be fair, because I did have a good amount of savings from business and also from jobs I worked.
Okay.
Because I had scholarship to cover my expenses, allowed me to not spend much money. I also only had one university course left. So the idea of dropping out was also around personal branding, to use the term dropout, because like I can't say I have one of those stories of like doing bad in school. Like I was like a 3.9 GPA in high school, and in college I did pretty well also. So it was more like a branding move. And one of the things that gave me a lot of confidence was I'd received a lot of job offers from companies I was doing work for. So it wasn't really there wasn't any sort of like burning flame to get me to do it. I mean, obviously I had things I wanted to do. I wanted to travel, I wanted to continue to grow my business, but I didn't like only have a month safety net, had to make things work or anything too dramatic like that. Like I have one of the things that has been a big advantage is I have a family that once introduced to entrepreneurship and once I proved the concept to it, was pretty open and allowed me to have a fallback if I ever needed in terms of, I could always go home, but it didn't have to, but could always have done that.
Right. Nice. Yeah, that was my mom, always supportive, but the rest of the family pretty aggressive. Well, cool, man. Okay. So to change topics, you're currently living in Thailand. You've been there for a few years. I just got back from Argentina, moving to Spain in 3 days. I think we're both living sort of this dream lifestyle of just traveling, and our net worth is growing month over month, just stacking revenue. And we're both doing, I'd say pretty well financially compared to the normal person. And you're still hungry. You're posting content. I got hit by one of your emails. You're obviously still pushing, and you're still pushing. So at this current moment, I'd love to kind of know like what keeps you going. Do you have sort of a drive? Is there an end goal? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I do have like a financial goal I'm working towards, and it's not any. I don't have like a goal of building a massive company per se.
Okay.
The number one financial goal I'm working towards is I'm 22 right now. I'll turn 23 in January. By the time that before I'm 26, so while I'm 25, I want to be at a point where I have the option to retire. Not necessarily retire, but be at the point where I have the option to retire. And I'm on track right now, and don't think it'll be an issue to hit that goal. But that's like the main financial goal that I would say I'm working towards. And one of my plans for that is not just building businesses, but I want to build and sell. Because when I do sell the businesses, there's something I really want to do, which is a concept I got from Tim Ferriss. It's the idea of having like multiple retirements throughout life. Because I do work a lot and I don't actually do very many things. So I like the idea of like getting to where I want to be and then taking 3 to 5 years off. I have some things I really want to do, but I'm putting off to the side right now, to get to the point where it's responsible to do those things with full intensity.
Wow. And that blows me away to retire. Well, one of your retirements, but just to retire at 25, that's not a sentence you hear every day. Um, I think what a lot of people don't realize is, you've been in the game, you've been pushing for 7 years. And so although you're 22, I think a lot of people that just meet you, they'll say like, he's an overnight success, or maybe he's got, parents' money or whatever. But dude, you have 7 years of knowledge and experience pushed into what, I mean, I got into this when I was 23, 24, right? And that was, you're not even 23 yet. And so, congrats, man. I'm glad you're on
Thank
track.
you.
I'm glad you're on goal. That's insane. Keep me updated with that because I'd love to hear how that goes when you are actually 25. Yeah, okay. So that's good to know. That kind of leads me into my next question, actually. So there's this phrase or this statement, I'm sure you've heard of it from countless multi-millionaires, billionaires out there that say, I would give up my entire fortune to be 22, I'm 26, to be 22 or 26 again, right? Obviously, we're both not billionaires, at least yet, maybe in the future, I don't know. But with what one would consider above the financial norm, and at the same time, we're both youthfully rich. I'm struggling with this, so I'd love to get your take on this. How are you balancing sort of like the grind, and then on top of that, like taking advantage of where you're currently at in regards to, youth?
Sure. So in terms of work-life balance, then.
Exactly. But at the same time, with the respect that you kind of are rich in your youth, and where a lot of people
Sure.
would want to be financially.
Well, one of the more tactical answers to that is by being in a geography where I can afford things that allow me more free time. For example, in the United States, it would it would be, again, I do well, but things get really fast, really quick. For example, if you want help for everything, like I don't do anything I don't want to do. I I don't handle managing my visa. I have someone help me look for flights. I don't clean. I don't cook. I don't deliver things. I don't do anything I don't want to do here because it's so cheap for me to pay someone else to do it. Like even like book a doctor's appointment, I won't do it. So
Wow.
if it and the nice thing about that is, it might, let's say it might cost me $500 to $1,000 a month, maybe, to have someone else do all the things that are non-businesses like personal tasks, travel tasks, legal tasks that I don't want to do. But if that opens up an extra 10, 20 hours a week, I'm sorry, a month, that's a lot of time to do different activities and things. So that's one of the nice things about here. Back home I can also do it. It would just be, I don't have to blink here. We're back home. I may have to consider what I really do and don't want to do.
Right.
Because, for example, I have I don't know if personal assistant's a word, but I have a girl here who helps me out with a lot of things. And it's nice to not do those things. I can support someone else financially, and I can not do the petty things I don't want to do, like delivering documents for a visa, which opens up more free time. So technically, that's one of the advantages of Thailand. In terms of more of a philosophical or just life planning level,
Hmm.
I find that, for me, I like to work with a lot of intensity. So I work a lot between Monday to Thursday. Like I work pretty much the entire day. I don't really do anything. And I like to believe, at least, but I get a lot more done than the average person. And this allows me for Fridays, I do half day working, half day off. Saturdays, I normally do half day working, half day off. And then Sundays, I normally do something the whole day. So I don't work every single day. I do work a lot in terms of hours and intensity, but that opens me up for Fridays to hang out with friends or do something, do a partial day thing Saturday and do a full day thing Sunday. And I do something every week. Again, like factoring in cost here. You can I do something cool every week, where back home it may cost hundreds of dollars to do. Here it might cost 100. So that's definitely another advantage of factoring in the geography.
God, that's awesome, man. So are you thinking about making Thailand your home then? Or do you have a future destination?
The main goal I want to work on, what I want to do when I do hit that like a little retirement gap, is I want to go to every country, every
Wow.
United Nations country. So it's 196 approximately, depends if you count as a
Yeah.
country. So uh, Thailand's probably going to be one of the bases, but not the only base. I do own a condo here. I bought my condo here, and I bought a couple motorcycles. So like it's more of a home than anywhere else right now. Like I do have travel plans next year, and this is like the home base I'm coming back to. But I don't know if this is like the only home base I'll ever have, or if it's the one I'll have in 5 years. But for now, I've kind of made it into that.
Nice. God, that's awesome, man. Wow. Okay. So totally shifting topics here. You got 7 years of experience, man. Um, you are, I think you're pretty famous for saying that the e-commerce industry with agencies is pretty saturated. And so if you could go back and talk to, 15-year-old Michael, and this is just a cookie cutter of Michael, this could be
Sure.
James or, Laura or whoever, what would you recommend that if they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to get into the agency space, or they want to have a service-based business in general, what do you think would be the quickest step-by-step way to get to that 10K a month mark?
So my less fun answer to that is to drop the idea of an agency and just start as a freelancer and get a lot of exposure to a lot of things. And I think
Yes.
a lot of people don't want to do that because they associate the idea of agency owner as not doing the work, and because they can outsource to a contractor, which
Right.
I think is generally an excuse for laziness and incompetence, especially at the beginning stages. Obviously, it's required at some point, but yeah, just starting out, you're young, go freelance and do odd jobs. Don't You won't make that much money, but you will put away money, because also starting an agency of $0 is possible, but it's stupid and slow when you could just have cash to start into. I'm not talking a lot, taking $1,000, $2,000. So I would freelance for on Upwork, do some cold email, freelance, do a little bit of web dev, do a little bit of Facebook ads, maybe even get an internship with an agency, or like a part-time position. I think that would be the best way to spend your first 6 months. Put aside $2,000, $3,000, learn on someone else's company to get some experience, and then after that, that will open up what you actually enjoy doing. And once you know what you actually enjoy doing, that's where you can compare what you enjoy to what the market wants and try to find a compromise for ongoing offer.
Right. Wow. Well said. Do the boring work, figure out what you're good at, and then, try and do something there. I love that. Okay. How do I find a guy like Felipe to get on my team? That's what I want to know.
Um, yeah, so Felipe's wait, yeah, Felipe's not normal. The best answer to that is have $500,000 a year to spend in salary. Like the most predictable way to
Wow.
hire someone like Felipe, I don't pay him that, by the way. The most predictable way to hire someone like Felipe is to hire the best in the world, which you probably can't do. I can't do that either. So that would be the most predictable way to get a Felipe. For some context for people listening, Felipe is my business partner who is a very rare combination of being social dynamic while also being a actual genius. Normally, people who are on the genius level of IQ come across mildly autistic. Felipe does at a certain point in time, but that's more on a personal scale than a business scale, just to piss him off a little bit. But the way I found Felipe and the way I found a lot of other hires that have been really good is paying attention to people who come to me. So personal brand has been a big factor in terms of hiring the best, because almost all of my best employees messaged me. They didn't come from a job board posting, because the fact that they actually reached out and showed some ambition was a great indicator that they might be a good person to hire. So like having a personal brand outside of the revenue benefits has been one of the best things possible for hiring. For example, someone might listen to this podcast, they might think, oh, maybe I want to work for him. If they send me a well-curated email or message, I'm probably going to respond to it. And that's, I don't know if you know the story with what Felipe did, but essentially he saw a YouTube video, he watched the video, he followed the steps, he got a client. It was a client acquisition video. He emailed me. He told me thank you. He offered to help where he could in terms of video editing. I said sure. We had a brief phone call, and after he told me, "Do you want me to summarize a couple bullet points for you and send it over to you?" I said yes. He sent me a 5-page SOP. I'm like,
Wow.
what the hell is wrong with this guy? This is bizarre. Hopped on a phone with him. We ended up getting along really well. At the time, he was not making as much in Brazil. For some context, he's from a town that has 7 restaurants. I know that I spent 3 months there. It is very boring, but it's a very nice place. And told him basically, hey, I'll pay for your plane ticket to come live with me in Mexico, and you could work with me. And at the time, Felipe had never been on an airplane, never left the country, never done pretty much anything whatsoever. And he decided to say yes. And fast forward, we've been traveling together for 2 years between like 10 different countries.
Wow, man, hidden gem. So, okay, again, you are just awesome with these ending. They segment perfectly. He found you on a YouTube video, you said, right? And then he
Yeah,
reached
that's
out to
correct.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, I'm guessing you started more direct response. When did you realize that content marketing was what you should be focusing on? And I'd love to kind of hear like the skew in regards to your business, like how many people come to you via your content and how many people come to you via direct response. This could be Upwork, this could be cold email, this could
Sure.
be, you know.
So one thing to keep in mind is I started with growing Instagram pages. So attention was important from the start for me because that's where
Hmm.
I had an audience to sell to. So I've been kind of doing the personal brand thing pretty much since I started. Um, I've definitely started being more intentional with it the last couple of years in terms of getting the messaging right. When I first started, it was more of just like, look at me. That way I can get random opportunities here and there. Where now it's a bit more, the messaging is specific to what I sell. But to break down right now where my calls are coming from, I think one thing before I get into the numbers that's important to understand is the great thing about direct response, so cold email or Uplook applications, Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, whatever, is I can control who I want to get on a meeting with. So as my company grows, I'm working with bigger and bigger businesses. Most of the agencies I work with do over $1 million a year. And those ones rarely come to me through my personal brand. A CEO of a company doing 10 million a year does, but very infrequently come to me through a YouTube video.
Hmm.
That's just the nature of them probably consuming a lot less content. So I get, I would say right now, my calls are about split 50-50 between people I outreach to and people who come to me from organic. However, the issue I had was my core agency offer works best for an agency that's a little bit larger. And I was getting a lot of calls of people that I couldn't ethically sell to, and thus I would just sell them a consulting call or something from my YouTube. I didn't want to sell them a package that I didn't think they could benefit from. So I recently put together more of a done with you info product style program, group calls, one-on-ones, a bit of done for you tied in there in a course. And that's what I've been selling to people from my personal brand because otherwise it wasn't bringing the perfect people. So
Hmm.
I that's not to say one of them's better or worse, but I definitely think that you have to be realistic with what you can sell to your audience. If I was selling something cheaper or a smaller business could benefit from, I'd probably sell more of that. But I had to just kind of take my core agency service, adapt it into a standardized, lower cost, one-time payment for people who are just starting out. And since then, it's been really nice.
Wow. Well said. Very well said. Um, what's next for Michael Gardner? I think you already answered this question, but it's the last question I have. So if there's anything you want to add on to this, what's next?
Right now we've kind of built out the fulfillment portion of the agency, so that's been really great. The next portion to build out is a sales portion. Right now I'm still the only sales rep. That's the one thing we haven't really touched.
Wow.
We have like 17 team members on fulfillment, and we have me on sales. And the problem is we're still lopsided, but I'm bringing in more clients than our team can manage. We're constantly hiring because we're constantly can't manage getting clients at a faster rate than we are now.
Good
So
problem to
we're
have.
trying to, yeah, it's interesting. We actually did our best month in December, which was surprising. We did a huge cold email push. That's probably the one you got hit by.
Yep.
And we ended up bringing in like 7 or 8 new clients in December. And it's a lot for a fulfillment team. So we're trying to get to the point where the fulfillment team is like sorted enough that not only going to take clients coming from my sales calls, but also a rep or two. And at that point, I'll consider it like a real business because I won't be in it. So I'm not in fulfillment really. I'm still definitely tied to sales. So once I get out of sales, obviously it is a business now, but I'll consider it like a that's the first time I'll consider myself like an actual CEO role because I'm not CEO and sales guy or CEO and client communication. It'll
Right.
just be like pure planning. So when I get to there, then the point is to exit the agency. I do want to exit the agency. And after that, I'm looking at potentially starting a software company, maybe a marketplace, something that's a little bit less client communication intensive and a bit more product focused. And that's what I'm saying for now. This may change. But as of now, that's the priority. That's probably a 1 to 2 year time span to get that all sorted. But besides that, I'm dabbling around with real estate, dabbling around more of this info product done with you type offer, which I'm seeing now is like, incredibly scalable. Trying to meet more people, and yeah, just maintaining pace.
Michael Gardiner, it was a pleasure speaking to you, my friend. It always is, always great value. You're a smart individual. And again, I thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I appreciate it.
You have a good one. Bye-bye.